Welcome, 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 church family, to another Wednesday night here at the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. It's our midweek Oasis service, and we're so glad that you joined us. Tonight is Wednesday, April 13th, and we have a wonderful program planned for you. So what is it? Why do we call it the Oasis? It's because it's a place where we can be together as a community to be spiritually refreshed between our Sundays. We present our Wednesday night services in the satsang style, or Oakland Center's version of a satsang style, where we have a wonderful speaker that talks on a subject, and then we have some very, very rich, intimate, and informal discussion afterwards. So I look forward to having that kind of event with you tonight. Our annual theme is Wonder, Wonder Everywhere. And our monthly theme for April is creativity. And we know Shastin has brought us creativity tonight in the flesh. We see it present. Thank you, Shastin, for decorating us and reminding us that Sunday is Easter. So thank you. If you're joining us for the first time, we welcome you. We invite you to visit the homepage where you signed in and look in the lower left-hand corner, and there's a sign-in for our Village News newsletter. You can submit your email address if you're interested in learning more about what we have going on here at the center. It'll come to you every Thursday, and it'll have all the events in the upcoming week. So please check that out if you're interested. Please also note that you'll be muted during this session tonight by our Zoom team if you haven't already turned off your camera and microphone. That will help improve the transmission and the quality that you'll be experiencing. Please stay tuned for special and important announcements, if I can get them out of my mouth correctly. At the end of the service, we will be reading the New Minister's Covenant as part of the announcement. So please stay and help us enjoy that ritual. Right now, it gives me great pleasure to bring forward our opening prayer. We don't do anything at Oakland Center until we start with prayer, and we'll end with prayer tonight. But opening our prayer tonight is our very own Reverend Jerry Carter. So Reverend Jerry, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Paul. So I invite us right here and right now to take a deep breath, breathing in that breath of life, breathing in that breath of love, breathing in that breath of the holy days, knowing that we are here and recognizing that we are here together by divine appointment, knowing that there is only one power, one presence, one life force that is all wise and knowing, that is boundless and infinite and everywhere present. How good it is to know that this presence is powerful and almighty and supreme and absolute. And no matter what we call it, Spirit, God, Allah, divine, infinite grace and goodness, whatever name we choose, we know that there is only one power, one presence in our lives, and that we are absolutely one with it. There is no separation. There is only the one. So as we continue to breathe in the essence of this grand and glorious evening this evening, we celebrate our ministerial student, Alena Hutchinson, as she delivers a most perfect message for us during this Wednesday satsang. I know that we are all here by divine appointment, and I bless each and every one of us who has showed up and said yes to the sacred time together. How good it is. I am so grateful for our time together. I'm so grateful for the AV team and everybody who's put their time and effort and energy and love into this evening. I know that we are divinely inspired. We are divinely directed, and just deepening in consciousness each step of the way as we share in this evening's satsang. I'm blessing Alena. I'm blessing us all. I'm so grateful for this and the more. I'm grateful for this that we call community. I'm grateful for the love and the energy of the divine flowing through each and every one of us each step of the way. How good it is. And I just let these words go into that universal law of love that always says yes to our heart's desires, that always takes all that we desire and makes manifest that is right and perfect for us individually and collectively. So in this and the more, I give great thanks. I send great appreciation for our speaker this evening, and I just let it be. So please join me in saying, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Reverend Jerry, for opening us with prayer tonight. I'm extremely happy tonight because we have a wonderful speaker for you. As you know, it's practitioner and ministerial student Alena Hutchinson, and she'll be speaking on the topic of wonder and creativity. Alena, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you, Reverend Jerry, for that beautiful prayer. As Paul mentioned, our CSL theme for 2022 is Living Everyday Wonder. And the theme for the month is exploring the role that wonder plays in our creativity. In January, we talked about what wonder is and what it's not, how the terms awe and wonder are often used interchangeably, although they're different. How awe is the way we react to those rare transcendent experiences that come out of nowhere and leave us feeling like we've had a close brush with the divine. And wonder refers to those tiny, awe-like moments in the quieter spaces of everyday life, the ones that we can actually invite in. The example I used last time was this. Awe is a lightning bolt crashing out of the sky and splitting a 100-year-old tree in half right in front of you. Wonder is pouring cream in your coffee and pausing to notice that the swirls are really beautiful. Hopefully we'll see an example of one of those wonder moments in a few minutes. In each month of 2022, CSL asks us to focus on how wonder is showing up in some part of our lives, our work, our relationships, our physical being. But this month's focus on creativity seems particularly important. It's how we do all the rest, right? Whether we're artists spending time on actual creative projects or just bringing our creative selves into our everyday tasks at home or work, Science of Mind reminds us that we are first and foremost creators, creating our own experience, our reality with our thoughts, our conscious thoughts, our unconscious thoughts, creating constantly whether we like it or not, because we share that quality of spirit, that quality of the one that is infinitely, endlessly creative, that simply creates because it's nature to create. When I started thinking about this talk tonight, I had an experience that I think people often have when they engage in creative projects. I'm guessing many of you have had a similar experience. What happened was I gave my first talk on wonder in January and just fell in love with the theme. I loved researching the talk, writing it, giving it. And then a month or so later, when I thought about this talk, what came up was, meh. And the thought was, well, there's no way this one will be as good or as much fun as the last time, so what's the use? But as you can see, I persevered. And in the process of persevering, something happened. I saw a video that left me a little more open to experiencing wonder, that ultimately made the process of creating something a little bit easier. And the technology, God's willing, I would like to share it with you. It lasts for about 3 minutes. So we'll see if I can go to share screen and bring that up for you. All right, let's see.
One night I was bored in my apartment and decided to take my telescope out to the sidewalk. The moon was out and I thought, why not? Within a few minutes, people started walking over and asking what this thing was.
Hey, what is that, bro?
It's a telescope. Oh. Do you want to check out the moon? Do you want to take a look at the moon? What is it? It's the moon.
How am I supposed to look?
You're supposed to look right here.
Oh, indeed.
Yeah. That's where it all started, and it just sort of went from there.
I'm looking at the moon. Hold on real quick. Hold on. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. I can't believe it.
Oh my God. Oh my God. No way.
No way.
No way, that's the moon?
No way.
Yeah, way.
No.
Well, you can see the craters. Yeah. That is so cool.
Oh,
Get closer, get closer. Get wider.
Whoa.
What?
What? Look at the edge. I want to see more of it. I know.
Holy.
I've never seen this before.
I've never seen this before like this, man.
Wow, that is intense right there, boy.
Woo! Bro, that look like that's right down the street, man. Man, what you got here, man? That look like that's right down the street.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? It's right.
Is that an actual image of the moon? Is it like a live image?
It's that right there. To be able to see it up close and feel like you could almost reach out and touch it, and that's what makes it real to us.
That is incredible.
I kind of felt like I just landed on the moon.
It makes you realize that we are all on a small little planet, and we all have the same reaction to the universe we live in.
Wow.
Whoa.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
I think there's something special about that, something unifying. It's a great reminder that we should look up more often.
Okay. Get back to where we were. The first time I saw this video, I was all in my head and sort of hurried through it thinking, oh, great video, maybe I can use that. The second time I viewed it, I already knew that it had an effect on me. The second time I was more open to an experience of wonder, and it actually brought tears to my eyes. That was a good reminder for me of how often we miss the opportunities life offers to experience wonder because we're too busy, too rushed, living too much in the past or in the future and not in the now. The now is where wonder lives. So that video, as it turns out, was the turning point in my creative process. It transformed my writer's block into what one scientist has called a wonder mindset. It left me feeling open to seeing what new creative thing might arise if I gave it a chance. As I reflected later on that experience, what I noticed is that with every talk I prepare, there's a block initially that gets released only when I get some lesson that's related to the topic of the talk. That's spirit showing up, right? The lesson this time had to do with the space I was in as I took on the task of being creative and the space I needed to be in to be creative. And ultimately, it helped me understand the relationship between wonder and creativity, how they react, how they dance. Creativity is all about creating something new. Wonder is the feeling that arises when we encounter something new, or see something from a new perspective, or allow ourselves to be in the moment and see newness that we might otherwise overlook. But in order to create in the first place, we have to be open to something new arising. We have to have a wonder mindset. So one gives rise to the other. As our meditation quote from the Tao reminded us, creation and destruction, difficult and easy, high and low, all arise from each other. Ernest Holmes put it this way: freedom and bondage, sickness and health, poverty and riches, heaven and hell, good and bad, big and little, happiness and misery, peace and confusion, faith and fear. All conditions which appear to be opposites are not really a result of opposing powers. In other words, those conditions are just different faces of the one, all interacting in an endless creative dance with each other. So how can we use this in our own lives? How can we follow the example of Ernest Holmes, who wanted above all to create what he called a practical spirituality? Clearly, one piece of creating consciously, of inviting creativity into our lives in a meaningful way, is to cultivate a wonder mindset, a mindset that is open and allowing and centered in the present moment. I talked a lot in January about how we might cultivate that mindset, and I invite you, if you haven't seen the talk, to check it out on YouTube. But here are some hints. We can look for beauty in the things around us, like the moon. We can take a walk in nature slowly, not to get somewhere, but just to be. We can remind ourselves that the familiar things we see around us that we take for granted are things that we are actually seeing for the very first time. We can add a wonder practice to our daily gratitude practice. The video we just watched also illustrates another crucial fact about creativity. If you ever decide to get curious about the whole process of creativity and do a deep dive on the Google machine, you'll find one concept coming up over and over again: the tension of opposites. That's what Lao Tzu and Ernest Holmes were talking about, right? It's the idea that creativity happens when you're trying to reconcile two things that seemingly can't be reconciled, or combining two things that seem totally unrelated, and they create or reveal something completely new. As a French mathematician and philosopher put it, it's that eureka moment, that sudden illumination that happens when an unconscious combination reveals the unsuspected kinship between facts, long known but wrongly believed to be strangers to one another. As an aside, let's hold on to that thought as we explore creativity, that when we juxtapose two seemingly unrelated things and that eureka moment happens, something has happened in the unconscious that has revealed something new, an unseen connection or a deeper truth. In the video we just watched, we saw a small example of combining unrelated things. A piece of scientific equipment and a busy street corner don't normally go together. But in this instance, they created something new and wonderful, something full of wonder. This concept of the tension of opposites shows up across just about every discipline you can think of: the arts, science, psychology, religion. Eugene O'Neill's inspiration for his great play, The Iceman Cometh, arose out of his realization that his friend had taken his own life because the friend both wanted and didn't want something at the same time, and he couldn't hold the tension of those conflicting desires, the tension of opposites. As far back as the 18th century, the poet and theologian Samuel Taylor Coleridge was intrigued by the concept of reconciliation of opposites, in which two opposites interact with each other to create a third thing that is, as they say, greater than the sum of the parts. In 1996, a Harvard psychiatrist studied this idea for the first time, delving into the creative process of 22 Nobel laureates and other world-changing scientists. He discovered that each of them had spent a significant amount of time actively holding opposites in their minds at the same time. Einstein's contemplation of how an object could be both at rest and moving at the same time, depending on the position of the person observing it, revealed to him his theory of relativity. The Danish physicist Niels Bohr's struggled to reconcile the seemingly impossible fact that energy acted like both a wave and a particle at the same time gave rise to a completely new view of quantum mechanics. The great psychoanalyst Carl Jung practically based his entire body of work on the idea of tension between opposites as the fundamental dynamic in the human psyche. As we all know, life presents us with opposites, with duality constantly. Positive and negative, masculine and feminine, weak and strong, love and hate, human and divine. Jung maintained that if we can learn to hold that tension in our own minds, instead of collapsing it, instead of favoring one and denying the other, if we can stay present to the totality of what is, that underlying conflict can be transformed and something new can be revealed. In the words of one group of his followers, when we learn to tolerate that tension, we gain self-awareness, we become more flexible, tolerant, and loving, and we become more empathetic and emotionally intelligent beings. The name Abraham Maslow might sound familiar, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. He was a psychologist who backed up Jung's theories in his study of creativity. He was forced to abandon his idea of creativity as something that's just exhibited by a few people with special talents, in favor of a much broader view of creativity as an attitude that creative people bring to their everyday lives. He found that one of the most important characteristics of the most creative people in his study was that they had the ability to resolve dichotomies within themselves, such as their own innate selfishness and selflessness. I imagine we can all think of examples of the opposites we have to grapple with on an everyday basis. We are unspeakably angry at a loved one and simultaneously know somewhere in the deep resources of our minds that they are actually still quite lovable and maybe even have their own perspective on things that's different from ours but equally valid. Well, okay, maybe not equally, but valid. If we don't hold that tension long enough to allow some greater truth to arise out of it, one of two things is likely to happen. We're likely to snap at that person and regret it later, or we find the tension unbearable and put away our own anger. We lose all the information that emotion is trying to offer us about our own boundaries and the needs we have that aren't getting met. Can we hold that tension between self-love and empathy for the other long enough that it can give rise to something new, some new understanding or some collaborative solution that wasn't obvious before? Another example, we long to step up and step out and express our true selves, not hiding our gifts from the world, not hiding our light under a bushel, to use a biblical reference. But we are terrified of criticism or failure or succeeding and stepping on someone else's toes or rejection. Can we hold the tension between our desire for self-expression and our desire for belonging and acceptance long enough for some new, more expansive sense of self to emerge, one that can navigate those waters more easily? Final example. I'm one of those people, and I'm sure I'm the only one here, who hates to ask for help and will take
anything. Every time there was something wrong, she would call Mary and beat the hell out of Mary.
Okay.
And we stand there and
let's mute that. Thank you. So I'm one of those people who hates to ask for help, and I will tell my closest friends that I'm having a hard time after it's over. If I feel into it, I know that what's going on an unconscious level is that part of me wants someone to notice that I'm struggling, and another part of me hates it when they do. I mean, I've got this, right? Can we be with the reality of our own power and the reality of our own vulnerability, coexisting in time, long enough for some larger truth to reveal itself? So the most creative people, the great artists and scientists, and the people who are creating and living from their most emotionally intelligent selves, are the ones who can hold the tension of opposites within themselves. Obviously, that's not easy. Our brains love to default to the easy answer, the all or nothing solution, the either or. When we talk about the tension of opposites, what we really mean is that it's uncomfortable. And we're doing church, so I left off the adjective before uncomfortable. As one writer said, to really embrace those opposites, we have to be willing to dissolve. We have to hold that tension long enough that whatever was can dissolve to make room for what wants to be. And those are just the small everyday dichotomies. What about the big stuff? This week, the Christian world is celebrating one of the greatest dichotomies of all, the idea that the man Jesus was both human and divine, that he was both dead and buried, and at the same time, resurrected alive and walking around Galilee, chatting with his disciples. Of course, what the Christians believe about the Master Jesus, Science of Mind, teaches us is the truth about all of us. We are both human and divine, because the divine is all there is, the source and substance of everything. As religious scientists, we ask a lot of our human selves in the way of holding in mind two seemingly opposite facts. We're supposed to believe that we are made of God's substance with all of God's creative power, when often what we are experiencing feels anything like what we would consciously want to create. In the midst of a crisis in our career or our family or our health, we're supposed to trust in a reality that we can't see or touch, but that is all good and is for us and not against us. We're supposed to believe that God is all good and that the very real evil in the world around us is only an appearance. That in the most horrifying circumstances, like the ones we are witnessing every day in Ukraine, there is both an unfathomable human tragedy and some underlying perfection unfolding in divine order that we can't comprehend. At times, straddling those two realities seems impossible. The Christian theologian Father Richard Rohr offers us a tip. He shares our belief that each one of us is both human and divine. His take on John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he sent his only begotten Son, is that God so loved the creation that he poured himself into it and became it. It sounds a lot more like Science of Mind than Christianity. He quotes with great enthusiasm theologian Beatrice Buteau when she said, "It seems impossible for one person to be both human and divine, but this is what Christians claim to believe. We could never have proposed such a thought to ourselves if we had not sensed its reality in ourselves." Or in Rohr's words, we could never make such a claim intellectually if we didn't sense it intuitively as our own truth. So for Rohr, resolving the tension of the opposites involves our intuition, not our rational thinking. It sounds like that eureka moment, something that happens in the unconscious when we put opposing ideas together. A Science of Mind person might describe that as a willingness to sit in the silence. in the tension of the opposites, to wait for that still small voice of God to reveal a greater truth, to sit in the silence and wait for that one thing that gives rise to love and hate, fear and faith, chaos and stillness, to speak to us about the divine order, the infinite love and joy that is the truth behind all of it. The psychologist and Buddhist teacher Jack Kornfield describes this process beautifully. He says that Buddhism teaches us to be in the world but not of the world. He refers to this as the middle way, noting that learning to rest in the middle way, in the reality of the present where all the opposites exist, requires trust in life itself. Harkening back to the time when he was learning to swim and he realized he could relax and the water would hold him, he says, I began to trust. Trusting in the middle way, there is an ease and grace, a cellular knowing that we too can float in the ever-changing ocean of life that has always held us. When we discover the middle path, we can be with all of our experience in its complexity, with our own exact thoughts and feelings and drama. We can learn to embrace tension, paradox, change. Instead of seeking resolution, we let ourselves open and relax in the middle. In the middle, we discover that the world is workable. So how do we expand our ability to relax and trust? Since Jack Kornfield is a good Buddhist, I suspect his one-word answer would be practice. We can practice being open to wonder. We can practice by reminding ourselves that we don't need to wipe out or deny the paradoxes all around us, but we can live with them and find gifts in them. We can practice by sitting and listening for that still small voice within. We can practice being willing to trust, or being willing to be willing to trust, until the impossible gives way to a larger truth. We can practice allowing that creative essence of spirit, our essence, to create something new within us. So for inspiration, I will leave you with a quote that in the spirit of this talk embodies both silliness and wisdom at the same time. There are no donkeys in it. I leave you with the advice of the Red Queen. The Red Queen in Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, if you remember, had a tendency to spout a fair amount of nonsense. At one point, apparently, Alice got pretty fed up with her. I can't believe that, said Alice. Can't you? The Queen said in a pitying tone. Try again, drawing a long breath and shut your eyes. Alice laughed. There's no use trying, she said. One can't believe impossible things. I dare say you haven't had much practice, said the Queen. When I was your age, I always did it for half an hour a day. Why, sometimes I've believed as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. I invite you now to ask yourself, how many impossible things are you willing to believe before breakfast? So what I would like to do now is have just like 1 minute of silence to allow each of you to simply be with whatever is going on in your now, and then we can open this up for discussion. Okay, so feel free to turn your mics on or your screens, and if you'd like to share anything about what came up for you in your now, we'll let anyone who wants to do that share. It's Maureen.
Oh, I just want to watch the Alice in Wonderland to get to know the Red Queen a little bit more. Hear her little comments. I love that.
Yeah.
That's all I have. That's all I have to share for now.
Okay.
Alena, I have to say that I am so full. I can't wait to watch the video at least. Well, I was going to say once. I think I'm going to need to see it 2 or 3 times again to absorb everything and how wonderful it made me feel. Just to have these things bubble up in my mind and send everything out to the universe, but it touched me very much. So thank you. It was very special.
Thank you. Anybody else? I see Robert's hand in the mountains.
Yeah, the video of the moon watching, I had the same reaction. I had tears in my eyes.
Me too.
And it was the, and that universality of the reaction, the wow, was it just really struck me how everybody kind of reacted the same way. And it made me think about how different the world could be if people lived in that kind of state of wonder, if they really recognized the miracle of existence and consciousness that we're in every moment, it might be a very different world.
I think this is why I fell in love with this whole theme. I'm so happy we're doing it for the whole year. It changes the whole atmosphere when you get into that place.
Were you going to say something? Did you want to say something? I think.
Alena, I'm struck by the video too, and your entire talk, by the way. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. This is one I'm going to go back and rewatch closely. I'm with Robert, but what struck me most, what brought tears to my eyes, was the idea that all of these diverse human beings could all have a uniform, I think you used that word, reaction to what they were saying. It was almost like a truth was revealed that everyone could accept. And it brought peace in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was male, female, old, young, culturals, different cultures, different everything, and other facets. And it was just all equalized.
Yeah.
And I'm intrigued by how many impossible things can you believe before breakfast? What one possible thing, what one impossible thing can I believe before I croak? That would be an accomplishment.
Before
I want to query everyone. I put it in the chat, plus I put a link in of your video in the chat in case you want to copy it out and put it somewhere for watching later, because I was really struck in a way. Can I believe in the impossible idea that we can create a world that works for everyone?
That would be a good impossible thing to believe.
I think it's impossible. I really do sometimes. And I also think sometimes it's impossible that day after day after day that I attend the Ukrainian call at 12 noon, that we're so fortunate to be digitally available to us, that I might make a difference? Well, yeah, now I kind of think I could. Possibly. It's so impossible that some guy moves a gadget into a street and people look in it. 200 years ago, we didn't even have that kind of technology. And to move those people that way is just completely transformed my outlook on what impossible really is. So thank you.
Well, I see that the universality is like we go through the world as adults, as opposed to little kids. We see a tree, we don't see the tree in front of us. We think tree, and it becomes this sort of generic thing. So we're not actually experiencing the world in front of us most of the time. We look up and go, oh, the moon. And this made people actually look at the world for the first time. And I think that universal response is, that's God. You know, they're reacting to,
oh my God, at the beginning.
yeah. So everyone has that within them, and so they all have that same reaction. Yeah.
It's amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You see, great.
So I was lucky when I moved to San Francisco. I landed in the Haight, and I walked up the street one night, and there was a kind, silver-haired gentleman saying, "Come look at the moon." And he had a telescope set up. And so every full moon, he would come out, and I would walk up the street, and we would talk and smile, and I would look at the moon. And, you know, people would walk by and just kind of glance at him, and he'd wave them over and say, "Come look at the moon." And it was exactly like this. It was just so magical. And I just figured it was because I was in San Francisco and I was living in the Haight, you know. And so this is a wonderful reminder of that and harbinger to it. So thank you.
Thank you. It really does happen in real life.
It happens in real life. Way back in around 2006, somewhere back there, I was very close to someone who taught me many pieces of wisdom that have stayed with me since then. Che, I don't know if you remember Che Norman.
Yes. Yeah.
And we're sitting having coffee down at the cafe at the bottom of the hill. And she was talking about that. I was talking about this is so wrong and how can I do whatever I was talking about. And she said, well, really, how we function is that on the one hand and on the other hand, and at the very same time, both are true. So I spent all this time trying to really get it. And this helped. Your whole talk and everything has helped to move me along a little further with that. I believed it because she happened to be someone I considered a wise woman, and I just believed whatever she would say. And so, but what you talked about tonight, it just allowed it to sink in a little more. And the other thing is I think everyone has seen it. It's like a little poster thing, and it says, impossible at the top means I'm possible.
Nice.
And that's, yeah, anyway, that's all I wanted to say for the moment.
Thank you, Judy. Reverend Jerry.
Yes. Well, Alena, once again, you knocked it out of the park, and I appreciate it so much. That was a beautiful talk. And I have to say, with the video, I really appreciated all the oh my gods. You know?
Right.
Like,
Right,
Yes, the universal life force that is operating through all of us, no matter what faith tradition or what belief we have. There's that aha, amazing moment of, oh my God. And so that was really beautiful. You mentioned practice. And for me, the word is surrender. So I find that when I'm in surrender, I'm allowing that practice to occur. I'm allowing that opening and consciousness that makes anything and everything possible. So I really appreciate you and thank you, and can't wait to get you up there on the pulpit on a Sunday.
Me too.
And the surrender gives rise to the practice, and the practice gives rise to the surrender.
I do see it that way. Thank you so much.
Now, speaking of practice, the thing that changed things, one of the things that changed things a lot for me in prac class was I had to kind of challenge myself and say, okay, do I really believe these things? Are they really real? Or are they just nice ideas that I want to believe? Am I pretending to believe? Do I act like I believe? And just like every day kind of asking myself, what if this stuff is real?
Surrendering to it and allowing it to unfold.
And it becomes more and more real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, well, thank you. That was fabulous.
Anybody else? Somebody else I thought had their hand up now. Or maybe I just dreamed it.
Hey, I do. It's Regina.
Regina. Hi, Regina.
I tried to raise my hand, but me and okay. Got my raised hand.
There it is.
Okay. Thank you for bringing in the video about the full moon. Okay. FYI for everybody who is in awe right now about the moon. Okay. The full moon is going to be this Friday. Ta-da. Okay.
Yay.
One of the practices of total awe, surrender, glory, quantum physics, infinite spaces, is walking into the labyrinth in the Oakland Hills by full moon.
Ooh.
And you can do this. And Jeff and I generally do it every full moon. My husband is blind, so, he's able to navigate the trail. Okay. So you go into Siesta Canyon and walk into the labyrinth, and the full moon lights up the sky, and you're under the glory of the full moon. So you don't need a telescope. You can look up at the sky. The full moon is there. It lights up the trails, and you can go down into the sacred labyrinth. So just putting it out there because it's available, and it's not far from our church. We're in the Oakland Hills. Okay. So this is not a journey across the world to see this. It's right here. And for us, it takes about 20 minutes from our house. And right in Siesta Canyon, labyrinth, full moon, you can do it. You don't need a telescope. So check it out. Awe and wonder every month in our hills.
Cool. Thank you. And it helps to have those moments of newness, that things we don't normally do. It's also like walking out of your house tomorrow morning and looking at the way the sun hits the tree in front of your house and realizing you never saw that before.
Absolutely. In the redwoods, totally. I go on these trails regularly, and every time I go on the trail, it is different. You just open to the awe, the wonder, and feel it, because the awe and wonder is the felt sensation of the field.
Oh, thank you. It's I think the time when Judith wanted to say one more quick thing.
Yeah, quick thing. That is these several days are so intense in all ways. On the night of the full moon is the first night of Passover.
Yes.
And then the second night, and then Easter. It's just all
coming together.
So awe-inspiring, everything all together. So I'm going to go out and look at the full moon.
Absolutely.
In San Francisco. I'm sure I can find it.
Oh, yeah,
in
San
Francisco.
I know.
It'll be there.
I know, it strikes me that people don't look up, and it's there every month, and so it's not like you need the telescope to see the moon. We live in such a crazy world on our cell phones. We don't look up. We're only looking forward. And
We're looking at the moon on our phones.
exactly. And then you'll see the post like, oh, the full moon. Wow, isn't that nice? Oh, okay.
It's like when my kids text me from across the room. So I think this is the time when I'm supposed to turn it over to Paul.
Well, I am grateful to receive it. I just cannot express how fabulous this evening has been because of you, Alena.
Thank
So
you.
let's show our appreciation, really, everybody, if you can.
Amen.
Just a brilliant delivery. I'm glad this is recorded so that we can all go back and enjoy it on our YouTube channel. It'll get posted probably by Monday, because Constance has other work to do, like get ready for Sunday, okay? So that's just the way the order of things work at the center. But Alena, really, I'm gonna digest and just diverse into something and ask you if this is how I got it right. I am intrigued by this idea of the tension of opposites. Did you say that Carl Jung wrote quite a bit about that tension of it?
I would say almost all of his work seems to be about that. That's like the fundamental dynamic in the human psyche, because he talks so much about male and female and you know, all the different opposites that, you know, we have to deal with in life.
Yeah, because I think in this day and age, opposites seem to not attract. You know, we hear that we have a divided nation, we have a divided world, we have a divided this, a divided that, a them and us kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like your talk has opened up the idea that that can be easily balanced and held.
I don't know about easily. I think it's a challenge.
Well, but I'm optimistic.
Yeah.
Well, to me, it seems like it's possible. It was impossible before I heard you speak.
All right.
You understand what I'm saying? So there's like a knowledge growth there for me, and I think it's important also to check out the Red Queen a little bit. It seems like she's a little bit nicer than I remember. So
the more we try to balance opposites, or, you know, move from the old to the new or whatever, that things that require a lot of change inside, I always tell my clients it's like trying to renovate every room of your house while you're living in it. So easy is not necessarily the word I would use.
Okay.
It's uncomfortable.
but it's possible
and beneficial.
Well, I am so delighted. Thank you, everyone that joined us tonight. I think we witnessed something truly great. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Peter, if we're ready, I have some announcements that we would like to make, so you know what's coming, because we do have some fabulous things happening. I'm intrigued also by what's happening on Sunday. This Sunday is Easter Sunday, as Shastin is reminding us prematurely, but I'm always welcoming Shastin prematurely advertising what's coming up. And Reverend Catherine will be with us on Sunday, and her talk is titled Roll Away the Stone. I think I got my stone rolled away already, so I can't wait to hear what she says. That's this Sunday, April 17th. So join us in person with meditation at 10 a.m. and the service at 10:30. We are now streaming directly to YouTube, or broadcasting is a more age-appropriate term for me. Broadcasting on YouTube, and the link is on the homepage if you choose to watch the service from home. Remember, you'll need to show your vaccination card and photo ID and wear a mask indoors if you plan to join us in person. Next Wednesday, April 20th, guess who? Reverend Sally Bartholomew will join us from her home on the road to talk about reveal, release, rise, and repeat. Meditation at 6:30 and service at 7. Wednesday night services will remain on Zoom. And during this traditional celebration of resurrection, Passover, Ramadan, jelly beans, color eggs, and chocolate bunnies, our youth and family teens are hiding eggs for the little busy bees of our youth and family ministry. So please join us next Sunday for all of this fun. Rise is what they're saying in the youth and family ministry this month. So that will be going on also Sunday. On Friday, April 22nd, Diversity Circle is meeting where our own Cozy Arrington, along with his coworker Nia Thompson, will be sharing the work of peers, P-E-E-R-S, peers envisioning and engaging in recovery services. They will be discussing the work of peers and how we can create a future where people with mental health experiences are valued for their essential contributions to society. Join us to learn how Peers is making that happen at Diversity Circle on Friday, April 22nd. Information is on our events page. Also, Earth Day is Friday, April 22nd, and the Loving Stewards of Mother Earth Ministry are inviting you to take part in several activities around Oakland and Berkeley on Saturday and Sunday, April 23rd and 24th. Please visit our events page where you can read about what those activities are and where. Are you looking to make a difference in the world events and change your own life? Chain Reaction for Peace, meeting to pray for peace in Ukraine and around the world, has moved back to noon each day, and this is continuing at least for a couple more days, and it will probably be extended. This 15-minute prayer meditation is a powerful way of putting our principles into practice. I have to let you know that it's in Zoom, and the people on the call are from all over the world, Switzerland, Ukraine, practitioners right in the midst of it, and we're all praying and meditating on gratitude and peace. So please join us if you can at 12 noon. And then at 12:15, you can join some of us at the Oakland Center to study and learn from the wisdom of Dr. Daniel Lee Morgan as we explore the daily readings from his book, Guidance for a Spiritual Journey. All of this is on our events page. Also, you can contribute to Relief for Ukraine at csl.org/Ukraine. Karen, you had asked me about a way to contribute a couple of weeks ago, and this is one that just surfaced that we're advertising. Relief for Ukraine at csl.org/Ukraine. We do make a difference. As always, for information on all that is going on at the Oakland Center, visit our website at www.oaklandcsl.org. Be sure to check out our events page, and don't forget you can follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook for special updates and content that only you can find by liking, and subscribing to OCSL. So let's take a moment and read the new Minister's Covenant together. If you'll not read it with your microphone on, that will prevent little distortion. So I take a deep breath and come into this moment, and I say, there is only one life. This life is good. This life is God. This life is my life now. And knowing that I am one with this life, that is God, I therefore know that I am one with all of its blessed expressions, which includes the presence of a new minister for my beloved spiritual community. Because I know that the highest power of my new minister is to reveal spirit, I therefore know that my new minister is a revelation of God's wisdom. I further know that my new minister is the fulfillment of that which has been promised by Spirit. For it is written, I am filled with divine wisdom. I allow divine mind to fill my mind now. As I stand in agreement with my beloved community, I see my new minister revealed before me as unity in the community. I now intend to experience my new minister in full cooperation and agreement with my community, knowing this truth about myself. For I am inspiring unity and diversity, embracing and nourishing our community. I am awakening the wisdom within. I am healing and expanding our community with the power of love. I am engaging the community in building a world that works for everyone. I am deepening family consciousness. As I now accept the highest expression of a new minister into my life, I know that they are revealed in a way that illumines spirit and serves the highest and greatest good of all who are touched by their presence. I am grateful God is gracious, and so it is. Ashe. And in this moment of gratitude, I am grateful to remember that we have a beautiful center, and that beautiful center is always available to receive your gift, whatever it may be, time, treasure, or talent. And if it is treasure, I ask that you hold that close to your heart, whatever your offering may be, and read along with me the affirmation. The gift I give is God in action. It does good work in the world and blesses creation. So I release that gift into the world, knowing it does great things. What comes in through these gates go back out into the world and multiplies and benefits everyone. With a new understanding of that, thanks to Alena tonight, I know it works. So with that in mind, how can you contribute financially if we're separated by some means that we can't come to the center? Well, you can go to the website and use the donate button for credit card, or you can mail your donation to the address listed there. You can text it to 510-327-3431. And if you know about Zelle and you use that, you can Zelle your donation to giving@oaklandcsl.org. As well, you can join us on Sunday service if you're willing. Bring your vaccination card and prepare to wear a mask and proof that it's you on that vaccination card. But once you get in the door, you can drop your offering in the basket. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. I also want to take a minute and thank Alena again for the wonderful meditation and everything that she brought for us, and to Reverend Jerry for being here and doing our opening prayer tonight. Thank you, Reverend Jerry. And I would like to thank our Zoom team, Peter up in Portland, who is our host and also did the PowerPoint. And let me get the right list on the screen. Paul. There we go. Peter and Trisha, the beautiful Sabrina, the wonderful Luis. I thank you all, and Alice, the most important person with the finger that collects the record button and presses it for us so we can have Alena to view. So with all of that in mind, with that, thank you for joining us. Grateful to the team. And Alena, if you will, can you close us out in prayer?
Yes, thank you, Paul. So let's just take a breath. There is only one presence, one power, one thing that holds all of the matrix of creation with all of its opposing parts, the jangly parts, the disconnected parts, the chaotic parts, all in one grand unity, one perfect divine order. I am that creative life force, that one being, and as I know this for myself, I know it for everyone here. I know that everyone is that creative power that has the ability to create impossible things, to hold everything. I know that each one of us collectively, we are that ground of being, that spiritual essence, that loving presence, that infinite intelligence that gives rise to everything, the love and hate and joy and sadness and everything there is. I give thanks for us coming together tonight, for what we created here tonight in consciousness. I know that that sense of wonder that we all experience together will take out with us into the world, that it will touch every person we encounter. I'm grateful for everyone who made tonight possible. And I simply speak my word, knowing that underlying all the things we encounter is that infinite peace and love of spirit. I speak my word, I let it go, I let God, and so it is.
And so it is.